Okay, as I said, my name is James Henderson, and I'll be taking you through the course of the next 60 minutes, focusing on a kitchen design. And the hope here is that we can show you some of what you can achieve with the software in a short period of time to convey to potential clients, contractor, or subtrades exactly what you want to do. And while we may or may not be able to get to the level of design that is here, this is the goal of where we're going in the next hour or so. This kitchen is actually a remodel design. It's actually a real-world design that's going on right now, and as such, this was used to convey the project, to the homeowners using SoftPlan 2018 as our driving force. So I'm going to move this out of the way just for right now, and what I'm going to do is actually zoom up so you can actually see the basic structure that we're going to be working with. What we've got right now is this is what the existing plan looked like. It was a typical, you've got a dining room over here on the left-hand side, a workable kitchen that worked. There was a breakfast nook and then a large family area. And the basic premise behind the remodel was simply that the family just really didn't use the dining room and felt that expanding the kitchen into the dining room was going to offer a better use of the space. And so the intent was basically to come in and remove what was a non-load-bearing wall here, basically gut the kitchen, and then be able to go in and, as I say, and I'm pulling the image across onto the screen, in essence, expand the kitchen for hosting and make use of that space. Okay, and so that's the direction that this was going to go. The plan was drawn inside SoftPlan. This is a very simple look at it right now, and if you pop into the 3D, I've got a 3D shaded mode open right now, you'll be able to see that as I zoom down, it looks like basically a typical production builder style kitchen that works, etc. And as we begin to pan around, we can see here in the shaded mode, this would be the dining area that was not being used, and so the extent was to push the kitchen into there. Now, there's a couple of different ways that things can be done with this. You can certainly go in and you can just begin block erasing and taking information out. You can do a save as and create a secondary drawing, which lends itself to other issues whereby something could get moved on one drawing and not another. Or in this case, what I want to do is simply create what's going to be called a building option. And the building option is going to allow me to go in and fundamentally turn things off, not only at a 2D level where I would be not printing something out, but in essence also turn them off in the 3D model. And so in essence, I'm going to come in through model, and I'm going to just select that I want to create a new building option. And currently, everything inside the simple schematic that we have right here is loaded on the default level. So there's 181 items that are listed here. And so what this is going to allow me to do is I'm going to jump in here, and I'm just going to call the first one Demolition. And so or demo at this stage, and so I'm going to have that visible, and I'm going to set it to fade right now just so I can see what we're doing, and then click OK. And when I do the fade, what's going to happen, you'll see that as I edit this island per se, which is going to come out of the plan, it's going to be in essence loaded into the demolition bucket, is I'm going to load it or assign it a new demolition option, and it now goes to fade. And what I'm doing at this stage is I do an edit and repeat edit box, is I'm coming in and I'm sketching a box around the items that are going to be basically, for all intents and purposes, conveyed to the homeowner what is going to be demoed, if you will, as part of the plan. And so as we begin to look at this, and I'll do a save, you can see everything that is currently faded out is what the intention is to be removed. And as I'm looking at this in the 3D shaded mode, okay, currently I can see exactly what the kitchen looks like at this point, and then I can come in through the building options, and if I turn the demo off and I click OK, those items are removed. Okay, and so they're removed from not only the 2D plan, but they would also be removed from the 3D model. And down the road, those would be removed from the bill of materials. And so, in taking this all the way through to that extent, what I want to do is I'm going to do an edit item on this wall out here, and I'm trying to show you how you can set all of this up long term. And I can go into the soft list option. I'm going to remove that from soft list and once again do a repeat edit box completely around all of the existing structure that's going to be there. So the repeat edit has now left or removed everything from being included in the soft list, so that as I am working with the report, I'll be able to go in and generate a report on this as it takes place. And so as I come back to the 3D shaded now, we're basically going to be able to go in and modify or begin the design of the house. And so a couple things that I'll do is in the setup options, I'm going to turn off the auto horizon so I don't see it for right now. Okay, and let me zoom in a little bit right here. Okay. As I look at this within the floor plan, all right, and some of these notes, at this stage I am just going to erase the notes that are off here and take out some of the dimensions, etc. Okay, but we've got this large wide open space, and now we'll be able to go in and begin with the design process, all right. Part of the process was going to involve that there was a window back here, and we were going to replace it with a door because, as I said, inside the demo option, I turned off those. You can no longer see, exactly where certain things are. And so in this case here, drawing inside the default building option, I can come in through the opening option here, and I can now begin to select things like exterior door, French, and I'm going to scroll down to find the 60 by 80 French A2, and I could place it, on the wall where I want it to be placed. Okay, now, because there's a window there, at this stage it's if you will, interacting with, the placement of that opening. So once again, I'm going to remove this now that we've, taken a look at it, which will now allow me through draw and opening to place the opening where I want it to be. Okay, so this opening which has been placed will be drawn in and will be included in the soft list and will now begin to show up in the 3D because it's being drawn inside the building option part of the plan. All right. Additionally, there will be some small windows that will go in, and we'll get to working on that. But the first thing that I want to do is I'm just going to come in and changing my dimension and extension formats on openings. I'm going to change my openings to run to the edge at this stage so that when I pull my extension options off, and this is the interior dimension was more important here, I need to make sure I've left enough room for the kitchen cabinets and so on to go in there. And so at this stage, I'll just simply type in 30 inches, leaving me enough room for the cabinets to go in. If I wanted to modify that, further, I could, even type in, 36 inches and give myself a little more room, there on the fly. And so with that set in place, okay, with the edge of the door, now I can begin to run the cabinets across the front over here. And the same thing was going to happen down here with this archway. In essence, it opened up into a, what was a, front entry or front room that was not really being used. And so this was being converted into more of a seating area, et cetera. And so having done a cleanup and a save, we're going to come in and we're going to add some of the cabinetry that goes, with the plan. And so I'll come in through Draw, and I'm going to select Cabinet, and there are a list of both generic openings that we can use as well as manufacturers. And I'm going to demonstrate both today. Okay, not that I'm sold on one versus the other, just simply from a perspective of showing you what you can do. Okay, so as I open up the list of manufacturers that are here, I could go into the tall, and you can see the different styles or different types of openings that are available. And so as I go through, I'm just basically, calling out the different types of, or styles of openings that are there. And when I select one, this 30 by 96 from Aristocraft in the tall option, I can now click to start and click to finish. And the 3D preview is going to show me what this cabinet is going to look like. Okay, and so again, I could just, you can begin to scroll down, and you can find all of the different cabinets that are available to you if you're using Aristocraft or one of the other manufacturers that are there. And of course, Decora, they call theirs out. You've got your microwaves and ovens, cabinets and so on. So again, all of these are available to you to be able to add into your, set plan. And if I take a look at it, again, working inside the 3D shaded, I can see, what I have there. I'm going to come back into the main floor plan at this stage, and there's going to be a little bit of jumping around and moving around as we work with this. But one of the things that I'm going to do is I'm now going to go ahead and place the double oven in there, letting the design unfold. And so I'll come in through the draw and symbol. And I'm going to basically, in this case, use manufacturers, okay? So I can come in through the manufacturer and the General Electric. And at this stage now, I can begin to scroll down and find, what it is that I'm looking for. And so in this case here, I'm just going to place the double oven in. And the benefit of doing this in both 2D and 3D is you can actually see where things are going to be, located. And so you can certainly move them, relative to the model itself, and as well as move it inside the plan view, to get it exactly set so that, it's sitting flush to the outside of the cabinet, and we can see what the oven is going to look like. All right? So that's just, very quickly getting that inside in the corner there. Now, we can continue by laying out, and again, this is just kind of designing on the fly how this is, we're sketching and editing, if you will. And the software is not limiting us how we design, because of tools. It's intended to roll with the punches, to roll with the flow of how you see things unfolding. And so now we'll scroll down, and we're just basically looking for a, refrigerator, and I'm sticking just with this general manufacturer right now. Okay, so I dropped the refrigerator in, which we can now see on this. And so, going forward, we'll be able to now, add an upper cabinet on top of that, perhaps put fillers in on either side, etc. Okay. Beside this now, and I'm just kind of working down in the flow of things. All right, we're going to go to the base cabinet, and I'm going to select this base cabinet here. Now I'm going to more generic type symbols. And I'm actually looking, you can see in the plan cabinets, I can pick the type of cabinet I want to use, whether it's an upper wall cabinet, whether it's a base cabinet, etc. I've just kind of selected the down arrow case. We'll be staying with the base. And I can change the shape, whether it was going to be a corner cabinet versus a standard cabinet, and all kinds of different shapes that are in there. Again, I'm going to stay with the standard for right now. And as I move into the face layout, this is where we can get into customizing this. And there are more options than I can hope to cover in an hour and moving as quickly as I am, but I'm hoping that I can show you just a few things that you can use down the road. And so you can see right now, I'm going to set it to have no doors, but simply have 3 drawer, count. And I'm going to set this to be, a recessed face versus, pull-out face versus, flat faces, which is what it started at. Okay, and so in this case, this gives us our option here, and I'll click OK, and we get the preview. And I'll just set the width to be, 36 or 39 inches, whatever that may be, and I'm going to click to start and click to finish to insert it in. And I'm not as worried right now, guys, about things like, are we painting it? Are we doing this kind of finish, etc.? I'm trying to build shapes. I'm trying to build flow patterns, etc., as far as that is concerned. And so with this set in place, okay, I'm going to run a dimension, and so I'm going to turn the symbol dimension on. I want to go from this wall to here, and let me erase this one out of the way because I want to basically get, see what my size is that we're dealing with here, okay? And so I've got, give or take, about 6 feet, which means I'm going to put 2 36-inch type cabinets in there, side by side. And so I'm going to start by, adding a tall cabinet in there. So I'll pick the 36-inch cabinet, and, I could click to insert one and click to insert a secondary one. And as I look at these, I've got them in place. Obviously, I want much taller than this, so I could edit these and I could change them to, 96 inches. Okay. Oops. Let me change the offset to go with it. Top height was, actually want to go to the actual overall size of this as opposed to just the face, and set the zero to, the offset to 0. And so I've changed the height of this. If I come in here and actually edit it, this is where I can actually change the height to, say, 96 inches and leave the, the offset at 0. And so this just gives me a couple of tall cabinets that are in there, trying to get, kind of, if you will, pantry space, maybe coffee bar beside the refrigerator, double ovens, etc. Of course, nobody wants 8-foot tall doors. So we want to maybe carry the drawers all the way through, and that's going to mean customizing or setting up our own, unit as it would be. So if I edit this, I can go in and I could, begin to, take a look at customizing the face of this cabinet right here. Okay, so right now what we see is we've got kind of our double door, and as I begin to add parts, I could actually, add, doors on top of, one another, etc. And so you can see at this stage, if I remove that part and I, add another, double door, in essence, I could break that up into 2 pieces. I'll be able to come in here and fix the actual dimension sizes. So if I don't fix one, then that means the bottom one's going to be a certain size, and then the other size is going to fit, on the fly there. Okay, and so what I'm going to do, I can also change this to, whether it's going to be, drawers or, as I'm adding the parts in, etc., on the actual drawing itself. And so if I, remove these parts, and I'm going to add in, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a drawer in here. And so when I add the drawer in and I click OK, I'm going to actually fix its size to 12 inches, and I'm going to set it to be actually recessed. And so now I'm going to add a secondary part, and again, I'm adding another drawer, and this time I'm going to put it on top, and I'm going to do the same thing, and I'm going to fix it to 12 inches. And then finally, the third one, again, I'm just kind of building this one piece at a time, if you will, if I wanted, and this gives you that full customization, as far as what you're doing for your setup. And then finally, I'm going to add on top of this a double door, okay, and it's going to fit the remainder of the cabinets. Okay, and you can see very quickly I've now added, kind of the double drawers. And of course, as far as the dimensions are concerned, that was up to me. I controlled that. So if I'm editing the custom face here, this might be more likely to be, rather than 12, which is 36 inches, and we know that a cabinet is 34.5 inches in height plus the 1.5 inches. I could go in and then specify or modify those. Maybe I'll make the top drawer, I'm just going to change it in terms of its size. And so I'll make it actually just 10 inches, in order to actually, lower it down. And then I'm going to click OK, and just doing an edit duplicate, I'm going to select this, and I'm going to apply it over here. Okay, and so depending on, I'm just, taking a quick look at what my different, heights are as far as my cabinetry is concerned. So we've, quickly at this stage been able to add in, what we're doing. Now, the depth of this is not right. I'm taking a look because I started with a tall cabinet. It's in at 20 inches, so we're just going to, pop that out and do something like so. And so, getting there, I'm going to, on the actual face itself, again, modify, some of these just to change them and lower them down a little bit in order to fit, with what we're doing with the rest of the actual drawing itself. Okay, so just doing the math on that. But that gets us to a stage where now we've basically set it up at this point for, we'll put an upper cabinet over here. We've got, kind of our tall cabinets, and set up that entire back wall. And so I'll come into the, and understand, this is trying to draw on the fly with a live audience. There's going to be certain things that maybe you see differently that you would want to change on this. I'm just turning the name off on this, and I get that. We're just trying to show you all of the tools today of what you could use. I could come in now through the drawing cabinet, and I'm going to select the wall cabinet, and I'm going to pick a 36-inch wall cabinet for right now, and I'm simply just going to draw it in place. And this cabinet, you know, at this stage, if I do a right-click and I select the move option, I can move it into place where I want that cabinet to be. Let me edit this refrigerator. So it's got a width of 2'11" and 3/4 of an inch. So we'll edit this cabinet, and we're going to make the width, you know, 2'11", 3/4 of an inch to sit over top. And I will then move it without the attach feature on so that it leaves the symbols and everything else in place. And then I'm going to edit that cabinet. And when I edit it, I can actually change its depth as well. So we've got the width to match the refrigerator, and then we've got the depth. We're going to modify that in at 24 inches. And so as we take a peek back here in the 3D shaded, let's zoom this up. And using the edit tool on this, I can then edit that wall cabinet and change its top to match over here. Okay? Using the adjust feature, I could either edit the dimension, or in this case, I'm just going to use adjust, and I'm just going to adjust this cabinetry to fit with what we're doing with the design. Okay, and so it's just a matter of, you know, I'm just actually, you know, moving it about and, you know, adjusting or setting the size, you know, accordingly as far as with the drawing itself. Okay, and so we're going to pop this back right now. You can see what we've got. Now I'll get finishes, I'll get door styles and all that stuff. We'll get that working in just a second. But that's kind of building that backdrop that's going to be back there. So we're going to run along the side over here. Okay, so that's, you know, kind of where we were just a second ago, and now we're going to work with this section over here. And you know, in this section right here, again, we can come back to the cabinets and we can select the base, and this is where now we're just going to kind of get into you know, different styles or you know, sizes that we're going to work with. And again, we could pull the dimensions and extensions off of these openings, which may be, you know, very helpful to laying out the dimensions themselves and where we want them to be. And so in this case, as I, you know, run the dimensions across here, right, I can see this door stays. So nothing changes about that door, but it may be helpful to move that just 1 inch to the left in order to get, you know, kind of a dimension that we can work with the 12 feet, because this door can be moved as we took a window out and we're replacing it with a door. So in this case now, using the draw cabinet, I can come in through the base, and I'm going to select the, let's start with a, you know, 36-inch or even a 24-inch, and I'm just going to change this to maybe have a single door and single drawer. Okay, and I can actually go through and, you know, pick the style that's there. And so click OK, and at this stage I could, you know, click to insert one, you know, on this end, and eventually there'll be another one down here at this point. And I'm just going to, I could either dimension it, or I'm just moving this, you know, accordingly to find where the, you know, the edge of the trim is in order to have that set, you know, something like so. And so again, just returning to the base cabinet, you know, come back to the same option, and we're going to set the door count to 0 and the drawer count to 3. And now I can just go through and pick from the different panels that are there. Okay, this one's obviously with sink. You know, this one looking to, you know, get something that's more just all drawers. And so I could, you know, if I want to change the width on this, I'll set that up like so. Okay, probably a little bit big on that, and so I'm just you know, setting the dimensions up as we go. And if I hit the Control E, I can actually explode the cabinets so that I can see the individual pieces on this. And so now I'm just going to leave this dialog open. I'm going to pick a 36-inch wide, and I'm actually going to go back to the 2-door. Is what I'm looking for in 0 drawer on this, okay? And so now I'm just looking at the predefined patterns that are there, you know, because what we're going to eventually do is put a cooktop on here, as far as, you know, that being the option that'll be used. And so as I pick it, I can click, and it's going to snap it together. Okay, and so using Control E, I could just use the Pick, Draw, Select now, add the same drawer panel here, pick the Draw, Select, and add the 24-inch vanity in there, and that's beginning to set up exactly what I want as far as the sizing is concerned. And it's clear this is not going to work. If that door is set, then what I can do is edit on the fly cabinets, to fit. And so I'm picking 18 inches, and I'm going to repeat edit that over there, and then run a cleanup. And now I could, for right now, design purpose-wise, I'm just moving that in between. And so as I look at the 3D shaded, okay, we can see exactly what we have as far as, the cabinets, that are going to, they're going to be placed on that wall. All right, and so we've done that. We've been at this for a half an hour, including introductions and so on. And as you can see, this is beginning to come together relatively quickly. Again, I'm not worried about finishes right now. All I'm worried about is shapes and so on. The finishes will happen in the last 15 minutes of this class, in all honesty. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to come back into this. I'm going to hit Control E and just, to pull this out. And I'm going to come in through because it explodes the cabinet so I can see them, and I'm going to select a wall cabinet. And from the list of wall cabinets right here, I can change this to be simply a single door. We're going to go with a glass grill and select OK. And then I can pick what the width is going to be on this. And so I'm going to pick a 27-inch. And this is just going to, if you will, set up, nicely on either side of, the cabinets that are going to be there. And I could have changed at this stage what the heights were going to be, and I didn't do that. And so that means I'm going to change it now by simply editing it. And so I could edit this, and again, I'm looking at it from this view. So we could change some of the dimensions on this, right away. We're going to go with 21-inch now because I think it's going to look a little bit better. We're going to change the height to 42 inches. We're going to change the top height to 96 inches. Okay, we're going to add shelving while we're at it and change the shelving to 3 shelves right here. And we can even go so far as to begin playing around with things like adding crown mold, okay, so that we can get that visual view that's going to be up there. Is there going to be under cabinet lighting? And if so, is it what we're going to do, point light versus continuous, okay, and so on. So all of that can be set up, and once I've done that, I'm going to repeat edit that same change over there. Okay, the plan view is probably where I'm going to do most of these, this type of thing where I'm just moving it to a line, and I could even use the move and align to edge, which is to say I can pick the edge of the cabinet and pick the edge of the cabinet and move it, into place. Okay, something like so. All right. Once that was done, I'm now going to come in and I want to place a vent hood. That's going to sit here. And once that's centered, that's going to determine for me, I wanted to flank either side of the vent hood with openings. And so if I select the draw and symbol, we're going to go back into the manufacturer. And I'm just sticking with one particular manufacturer today. That doesn't mean that you couldn't necessarily go in and select that you wanted a different manufacturer, and I'll show you. But for right now, I can come in and, I'm basically just going to, set up where I want this hood. And I can even, if you will, explode before I even draw this. So I know exactly what cabinet I'm trying to get it over top of, and it's centered on there with the snap feature, okay? But you could do a search at any point for vent hoods, and you can see we've got a host of manufacturers that are in there, so you can pick from any of these. You don't have to stick with the manufacturer that I've been picking and using, okay? This is actually, one that you could use, and it's obviously fairly large, so we could pick a different size and get something, that we want to use, okay? But, the key here is that there it is. All right, so we've managed to get that in there. We will adjust the heights and so on this in due time, and so I can come in and remove the cleanup, and now I could actually move this up if I wanted, or elevationally speaking, or I could even do it by sight, which is what I do a lot of sometimes when I'm dealing with things, because this gives me, if you'll see, the dimensions of where I want them to be, and I can literally tell you, Let me zoom that back up. I can literally tell you, I knew that this dimension here was going to be approximately 3 feet. That's just the way it actually worked out as far as the design goes. Okay, coming back to the main floor plan then and selecting symbol. I'm in a different manufacturer right now as far as this goes, so I'm going to go back to General Electric just to stick with it all the way through, and I was using the profile, and so we're just looking for a gas grill at this stage, or a gas cooktop, if you will, and see what they have. And if they don't, we can always do a search for one. Yeah, let's do a search. Gas cooktop. Okay, and so I'm scrolling through to find the different manufacturers that are here. We'll take a look at the the ones that they've got here in the KitchenAid section. And again, just scrolling to see what is available. Go down a little bit further. And you can obviously see there's no end of manufacturers that are available. And so this one, that's a 48-inch. This is a 36-inch. And so we'll go with this one right here. And again, I'm just going to click to insert it in. Okay, and so as I take a look at this, all right, we can see what that's doing. And what you can actually do now is you can begin to edit individual cabinets, so base cabinets. So this height may actually only be something like 28 inches. The height itself may only be like 28 or 30 inches or something along that lines because, and we may want to go in on just that countertop and remove it because in essence that's where the doors are, and now this can actually be either edited or moved. And again, because I do a lot of on-the-fly designing like this is more in line with what is going to look like as far as the design is concerned. And so you can see how quickly we got that into place. With that said, now I'm probably going to do the, continuing the design process, go in and sketch just a couple of small openings in here. So I'm going to do it from within 3D. I'm going to select the draw an opening, open the window, and at this stage I'll just go to the casement library. And let's pick the 18 by 42. And again, I'm just drawing on the fly to see what works and what doesn't, as far as this is concerned. And once that's in place, I can always do some addition, by editing dimensions and such. Okay, and I can even go so far as to modify and turn off certain things, like if I don't want the interior trim, I could turn that off so it's just a drywall wrapped window, giving me a little more room and possibly even a cleaner look per se as far as the plan is concerned. Okay, and so that gets us, again, the shapes that we're looking for on this view over here. Okay, so the back wall is in and the cabinets are built. This has been built over here, range hood, as well as the custom cabinetry and so on that will be needed for the gas grill. And so I'm going to come in and using the draw select, I'm going to just simply draw select, pick this cabinet right here, and I'm just going to click to insert one right there. And this dimension from here to here, I could certainly go in and spec that out. Okay, I'm just going to draw a bank of cabinets in for right now that's going to run along that side of the plan. Okay, and just save it for right now, and set ourselves up for placing an island in here. Okay, and so if I come in and we want to place the island down the middle, all right, and this is going to have the dishwasher, the sink, maybe a bookshelf on the end. We're going to see how time does for us, etc. Okay, and even we want to possibly come in and do some chamfering of the cabinet corners and so on. So what I want to do is come in through cabinet, base, and I'll start with the 36-inch base cabinet that we're going to use to get ourselves started, and that's going to go directly across from the range. Okay, and this base cabinet will be the one that holds the sink in it. And so we also know that beside that we're going to place the 24-inch. And you can see, and just because I did it so fast, I want to just take it back real quick. But the projection snap feature allows me to find midpoints and endpoints of certain items. And so because I have my snap feature on, it allows me to snap directly to the center line of this. I can also use the dimension feature now to come in, and with symbol dimension on, I'm going to draw the dimension from that gas range to the edge of the cabinet. And here I could type in a better use of space, let's say, at 42 inches, giving us room to have someone at the range and someone at the sink. Okay, so projection snap allowed me to snap it to the midpoint, and then dimension points allow me to go between these items with the symbol on. So coming back into draw and cabinet and now selecting the 24-inch cabinet, I'll use this right beside this as a placeholder for where the dishwasher is going to go. And I could also come in and do the same thing over here. And again, this is where I could begin to, I could add more drawers if I wanted to. I'm not necessarily going to do that at this stage, okay, for right now. And then this right here was just going to be a slide out, if you will, beside the dishwasher, maybe something that's, holds all of the spices and such, so a spice rack of some sort. So I may set the drawer to 0. I just want a single 9-inch, door that's going to, be running right there. Okay, and we'll place the that on the end, and then finally, I can come back, and we're going to set this back to 2, or maybe even just have all drawers again, and set this to 0. And so once I have set that up, I actually did just guess the dimension on that. It's probably closer to 21 at this stage, okay, and just to get something in line right there. Okay, so this sets the island up, per se, as far as the, what is happening there. And so popping back and forth between the 2D and the 3D, I'm going to pull this back, and we can see what we've kind of got at this stage. Now, going on the end of this was just going to be an open cabinet with shelves and such, and so we're just looking to do like kind of a bookcase, ending, if you will. And so just simply using draw, and I'm going to go to cabinet, and I'll go to base, and we're going to look to do just some sort of I may come in here and set it to just be something that's going to be open or with no doors at this stage. So door count will set to 0. All right, so once I've got something like that there, this is 24 inches. Technically, this wound up being about 30 inches, and the reason, was just in terms of getting the depth on it and so on. And so I'm just simply designing or moving this into place. Eventually, these counters are going to come off because I'm going to freeform the counter in a little bit as far as that goes. And then the depth of this, because we don't really need a full 24-inch depth, so I'm going to make this 12 inches as far as that goes. Okay. Now, this really just had you could have a knee wall coming across there, or there were just cabinet panels that were going to be drawn on there. For the purpose of what we're doing, I'm actually going to just come in and edit these cabinets, and I'm going to set their depth to a 30-inch depth for right now, because I'm just trying to convey what it is that we're trying to do. And so I'll use the move and the edit and repeat edit box all the way around all of these cabinets, and then I can actually move them so that, or actually even using the move and align to edge, pick this edge to get them properly aligned. So that's just to give me this depth that I'm looking for right here. This can be modified, and we can go in and we can add things like shelving and so on to it. These panels can actually have end panels run to them, so all of that can be done. So in this case here, I'm just going to set this to have 3 shelves, on the end. You'll see on this cabinet right here, I'm going to edit it, and if I come into the actual base cabinet itself, I can actually then begin to add things like, where's my left panel, right panel, so that we get the panels added on the end, and I'll do the same thing here, and it just gives kind of that little more, custom finish, if you will, to the actual cabinets and so on. And so I could do the same thing on the other side. I'm just going to edit this cabinet right here, and then in this case, I click on, where as far as the panels are concerned, turn that panel on, do the same thing here, and do the same thing here, okay, and here. All right. Actually, that's going to be the right panel, so there it is, and turn the left one off. All right, and so that's how you can do that. If it's a Peninsula, you can actually edit the actual cabinet itself. Okay, and so when you get into modifying this, you'll be able to come in and set it up to actually have panels on the back and the overhang and such. And so if just click on this real quick, and Peninsula, which was under the base cabinet, you can see that it adds it, there to this option, and then I'm just going to repeat edit that same change, across the back if that's what I'm looking to do, okay? So those are just different options that are going to be able to be used there. I'm going to create a overhang that's going to go on this cabinet itself, and what I'm actually going to do is edit the entire thing, and I'm going to turn the countertop off. And I'm going to do the same thing down here and just run a cleanup and a save for right now. And so when we're looking at this right now, we have no countertop on here, and basically what I want to do is when this was given an overhang, the corner right here was going to become problematic for space. So the decision was made on the actual design to chamfer this corner, which allowed for a much more open walking space. And if you're going to do that, then you actually have to come in and sketch, if you will, the countertop, because you're trying to do something that's going to be different than per se the actual design itself. And so I'm actually just going to sketch this in. I can always dimension this after the fact. But right now I'm just sketching in something as far as the look is concerned. Okay, and so you can see that when I edit this, I can change the line style, to match what everything else is doing. The key right now is that I can go in and set up what this is going to look like. And so as I take a look at it, and bringing it down, there's the chamfered corner now, and the chamfered corner actually just gives, allows for a little more space for walking in, and so that was something that was actually changed on the fly from the original design because it just felt a little bit, crowded walking into that room. And again, I can, run dimensions and figure out, what that overhang is going to be. I can use the adjust feature to adjust that overhang if I want it less than what it is, and so I've now set it to 12 inches, just by adjusting it back by 4 inches, okay? Corners can be curved, chamfers can be done all using the tools and where you can come in and use the different fillets, okay? So if I wanted to curve this corner, I could come in and just curve that by 4 inches, and that just takes that sharp corner off altogether, okay? It was left that way, so I'm going to put it back, but I could also have come in and use the the chamfer tool to create the same thing that I did down on this corner down here, whereby you actually get a specific dimension as opposed to the way I did it where I just simply traced it in. Okay, so hopefully that makes some sense there. All right, as we head towards the finish line here, I want to talk a little bit about some finishes and things that we can do. So a couple of things that I'm going to do. I'm going to come in through the post option initially, and I want to, because we're going to have a couple of posts that are going to be used to support this. So in this case here, I've just grabbed a random post, and this post is obviously way too large for what we're going to be putting in there, but I can always override, the dimensions on a given post, okay, and I can change its height so that I get exactly what it is that I'm looking for. And so in this case here, I've now just added a post in here, and then I'll do a copy and drag it down to this end. Again, the aligned edge, I could have had that on there as well. But now we've got kind of the post that's going to be supporting the actual kitchen itself. I'm going to change this into textured mode, because we're going to start getting in towards some finishes here, okay, as far as this goes. And so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to come in, and you can use a combination of either room mode or interior mode, or a combination of both. So for right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to change into room, and I'm going to select room, and I'm going to select that I'm going to draw a kitchen. Okay, and I'm just going to auto trace and place this in here. And what it looks like, I accidentally may have removed a wall, so I'm just going to select and draw a wall down here quickly, because that's basically the way the design looked. And so if I go back into room mode right now, so when I click into room mode and I select room, I'm just going to select kitchen. I'm going to auto trace. And the reason I'm doing this is it's going to carry all of the finishes through. In other words, the walls will all be painted the same color. The flooring will be throughout. And so as I begin to look at this texture, okay, there you can see what has happened. So things can be changed on the fly. I could edit this, and I could change this to a hardwood. And when I do that, it's going to place the hardwood in. I can take it a step further now, and I can actually now begin to go into either the different flooring options that are here, or even into the manufacturer options. And once I'm into the manufacturer, and even into SoftPlan Plus, which gives me so many different options that I can use, I can now get into a much more customizable type of flooring surface that is much higher resolution and is going to show much better. And so in this case here, I'm going to select this, more of a mocha style option. And when I do a surface edit on this, I can actually select options, and I could even change the direction if I wanted this, just simply by checking rotate, so that the when I do this, the beam or the flooring is actually going to run the other way. Okay, and so now it's running across the way. So that gets one interior in there. As far as the paint colors are concerned, I can edit this paint color in here, and currently right now I can go into the different options or manufacturers that are there, and I could select from the Sherwin-Williams, options right here, and just, begin to scroll down, and you can see I literally have, hundreds and hundreds of different textures that we can add to this, if we wanted to, as far as the styles are concerned. And so all of these different blues that are here, or grays and such, to be able to add to the actual drawing itself. Okay, so that's an actual manufacturer from their paint chip that we're going to be using. As far as the kitchen cabinets are concerned, here I can change these to a painted texture. Okay, as far as that goes, and for right now, just repeat edit those same changes to the different options that are going to be used. And if there are a run of cabinets, they're going to change on the fly automatically. And if they are, individual cabinets, then you'll have to do a right click and repeat edit those same changes across the way. And so I'm just very quickly picking these, as far as that, those options are concerned. And so now we're up to, we've got our white cabinets, we got kind of our color, that we want for the walls, and we've got our hardwood here. And I'm going to jump into the main floor plan, and I'm going to change into drawing mode for a second and just edit. And once I start getting into this is where I can start to add things like the crown molding to the actual plan. And you can see it shows up. Or I can do it this way by editing the crown molding and again applying that. I'm just doing a repeat edit and just having these changes apply as we go. And so that's just kind of laying out some of the detail for the actual kitchen. Okay, so that's getting some of there, and now there's details I can already see that I need to address. The kitchen sink, when I do an edit on it, this cabinet, I'll have the option under the base of going in and adding a sink to it. And this is, again, where I'm going to defer to going to manufacturers. And the reason is they just show that much better as far as the detail. Plus, you can literally send your clients to the manufacturer in order to pick out what it is that you want, what they're going to use. And so you can pick from any one of these, right, as far as the style is concerned. And once you have the style, you can click OK, and it's going to insert it. And I can select the tap option. And again, I'm going back to the manufacturer, and I can come in and I can select from the list of faucets that are there, and scroll down until I find the one that I want to use and have it inserted. And so I know this is going quickly, but I'm trying to demonstrate as much as possible what you can do, with the plan, on the fly, as we begin to do it. Now, other things that we can do with the interior, okay? There was a brick. This was decided it was going to be bricked back here. And so just to give kind of like a different feel, if you will, to the room. And so something like that, I would actually just be able to do it inside interior mode. Currently, right now, the room, if you click on it, it has been painted using paint number 5, and then I went in and I overrode it and I picked what paint color I wanted. And so I could come in through wall covering at this stage, and I'm just going to pick wall covering number 21, or I could pick, stone tile 1, really whatever I wanted to do, and I'm just going to manually trace this across the back. And so when I edit this, I'm going to have a stone tile there, and you can see that I've got full coverage on it. And so as I come back into 3D and I regenerate, now it places the stone tile in, and I'm just going to come in using a surface edit on this. And instead of using the stone tile that we've got there, I'm actually just going to change the textures. I'm going to go up here to exterior finish and brick and wall, and I'm going to find a reclaimed brick that I want to use. Okay, and so that's all I'm going to apply to the back there. And so you can see very quickly that we get that, pulled up, and as we move into, deeper renderings and such, we'll be able to pull that out as far as the style is concerned. The next thing I want to do is I just want to place some shelving in here that's going to, basically make up the coffee bar, if you will. And so for this, I'm going to actually do it inside the drawing mode, and I can just use rod shelf. And basically what I'll do is I'll eliminate the shelf part, or the rod part of it. And so I'm just going to draw this across, something like so, on top of that cabinet. And I can edit the rod and shelf, and you can see what the preview looks like right here. And I'm going to turn the rod off, and I'm going to change this to, let's say, 3 shelves. And its offset will actually start at about 48 inches. And the spacing on this, I can go in and set that up and so on, okay? So as I come back and I take a look at this, I'm going to zoom this up a little bit. And so we see what our shelves are doing. I need a finished panel on there. We may or may not get to that as far as a filler is concerned. But I just want to 48 inches, and we're going to do this at scale that back just a little bit, and the spacing, we're going to make that in at around 16 inches. Okay, so now just playing with that. All right, so when I click that and I pull it back, I can now see what the shelves are going to look like. Okay, so here are my shelves that we're building. Here's the coffee bar, right? We've got the cabinetry going on. Okay, I pull it back so that we can see it. And you can even edit things like if you want to, how far that's being tiled, or that aspect ratio, so that if I wanted this to be a slightly smaller brick than what's being shown there, I could actually change that down on the fly there. Okay. Lighting on this, and this is going to be key. This is going to, and I'm going to run over a few minutes on the hour, but I really want to get as much in there as what I can possibly show you. So forgive me if it runs just a little bit long here. When we placed the room mode in, it placed a single light fixture in the middle of the room. Remember, I dragged the entire room all the way across. I'm going to move that one light fixture over to the breakfast nook area. And what I want to do is I want to come in and place a couple of pendant lights. I want to put some can lights in here, etc. Okay, and so if I come in through draw and symbol, if I change into electrical mode and I select draw symbol, It's going to allow me to open up into the electrical lights. And I'm going to go to the ceiling lights real quick, and I'm just scrolling down to see what I can find as far as, the various lights that are available. And the thing is that a lot of our manufacturers now want us using their light fixtures. And so you have the option of going in literally to their websites in a lot of cases, and you can find the light fixtures, online, for your drawing. And this is actually a key little lesson right here. One of the things that we did with the design is we actually really did line the light fixtures up with the windows themselves. And so we were trying to get some sort of symmetry, as far as that goes. And so with the projection snap on, you'll be able to set that up. You can see how the line actually finds the center of objects and so on. Okay, and as such, you could, then move them or edit them as far as, where you want them exactly and so on. But the projection snap allowed me to find the center line of the window is the key here. And as you can see, we've got these light fixtures now, and these can be modified because they're obviously a little bit, too much as far as the height and so on is concerned. And so I'm going to change this height to 3 foot 4 inches to or even 3 feet. So I'm changing kind of what the dimension looks like, and then I'll just repeat edit this on that light fixture there. And so that's our kind of our pendant lights that we're going to have there. We're also going to lay out can lighting throughout the plan. And so one of the things that set this out was because they were trying to attempt to get the historic look, if you will, is they basically had crafted beams, and then the can lights kind of fit inside there. And so what I want to do is come in through the drawing mode, and this is where I could technically set up a default layer so that that was just going to be for beams. I'm actually just going to draw in layer number 1 right now, the beams, but it could have been a building option and such. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a beam and just pick this 4x6 wood beam, and I'm going to draw one across this way, and there was one that runs all the way across here, and so as you're doing this, you'll be able to copy it or offset it. And the fade feature that I put on there is actually, why it seems like it's so, if you will, faded out. And so I'll pick the dimension and dimension point, and I just want to pick this, and I'm going to draw it to that edge there, and I'm going to edit this, and we're going to make this 8 feet and hit to the right. And so that's where the first beam is going to sit, or if I wanted that a little bit less, 6 feet. And then I'm going to I could do the same thing here. And using the tools and the offset field, okay, and some of this was literally done on site, and when you do it on site, of course you're making measurements sometimes by eye on what it's going to look like. I'm going to just randomly add a few beams in across the way, and so I've just set them every 8 feet, and this one here I'm going to set every 6 feet. And so I've added a couple of beams in, and we take a look at it in 3D. This gets us our beams, okay? Now, it looks like I could probably stand to, have one right here, and then using move and copy. I'm doing this, you can see, entirely by eye as I'm setting some of this stuff up, but I'm just trying to get a feel for it, okay, on what that's going to look like. All right, so this gives us kind of a quick grid layout for this, and eventually we could modify all of this according to the dimensions. Using the surface copy paste, I'm actually just going to paste the exact same texture up there, okay, as far as the beams are concerned, because that ties one to the other. And now I can come in, and inside the electrical mode, okay, I'll be able to, and I can see the beams right here. If you're having trouble seeing them, I'm going to turn the fade off for right now so you can actually see where the beam layout is. And now I can just come in, and I'm just going to do a quick search for can lighting. And I'm going to pick the 6-inch can light, and I'm going to turn my F11 projection snap on. Okay, and so now I'm just determining where I want this to be, and you can see as I begin to pick, it's actually zooming out and trying to find exactly where I want to place it. So I'm going to place one here, and then just using the move copy tool for right now, I'm going to add a couple more. And we'll do 2. Okay. I'll move this one down here. I'm going to move this one down here, and then what I'll do is I'm just going to pick the copy block, and I'm going to grab this, and I'm just going to begin to, place them where I want them to be, and I'll show you, and so on. Okay, so I'm just focusing on the kitchen at this stage, and in essence, these ones here are probably just moved out just ever slightly so in order to accommodate the design. And so as we take a look, we now get the can lighting, going into the plan. I'm going to come in and just turn on the auto horizon so that you don't see, space out there, right? And so as you can see, we have quickly, in a short period of time, put together a pretty decent, kitchen layout. This was an hour and 3 minutes. Now, I knew the design, as I said, on this, but this is what, in essence, you could be able to display a client in a short period of time on the actual plan itself. And you will see that as this is what the finished rendering ended up looking like. Okay, things like reflections and so on could be brought into play on this. Certainly as far as the textures are concerned, you could edit, these textures, and you could turn them to something other than, I've got black counters on here, and we might want something other than that. But that's, again, that really just comes down to your preference on what you want to show as far as, that texture is concerned. And then as we get into the mode options for this, I'll be able to go into the face options and begin to turn reflections on. Okay, and that's going to slow down, obviously, the drawing process a little bit. Okay, I'll be able to turn the anti-aliasing on, which will, firm up what the image is going to look like. But I think in an hour, we've accomplished a ton. And we would be able to proudly show that to a customer, okay, as more than just a schematic of this is what it's going to look like, okay. I'm going to edit this cabinet run, right now, actually, and I could, add like a backsplash to it and so on if necessary. And this would just be a matter of coming into the countertop. And, I could add what the splash height's going to be if I wanted that on there, and that's how you would type that in. So it's just going to be back, and here I could, type in 36 inches, and it's going to return that now to the, to the backside, and on the regenerate, you'll begin to see the backsplash running across. And I would, of course, do the same thing, all the way across for, the different splashes. If you wonder how this translates to real world versus CAD and so on, okay. Let me just. I want to bring you up a side-by-side, and I wish that I could show you what a finished product actually look like. But here's what, if you take a look, this is what I intended to bring you to today. This is what the actual project itself now looks like as of yesterday. And I think that even though there were certain cabinet design changes that were made, these changes were made after the design was basically overall, the footprint was set. And if you will, the bones or the soul of the design never really changed in terms of getting it from one to the other. And so I wanted to show you, if you will, how you can get through, from concept, to where we started with the shaded, and you can, you're basically boxing out different shapes. So I'm just coming in here and turning off that backsplash for right now, to where we go all the way through to the final rendered image or ray traced image on the actual plan itself, and how quickly that can be done. That is what we have for you today. As far as the kitchen course is concerned for this Friday Fundamental. Next week we will be taking you through a custom bathroom, and I will actually be doing that instruction as well. And so I hope that we will be able to get as many of you back as possible, and I hope that you've learned something today. And that's all that we have for you, so I hope you have a great rest of the day and enjoy your weekend.